Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 3. I'm hoping to help you discover some new music today with my good friend, David McElroy, who you'll hear me refer to as Marilyn. It's just one of his nicknames. He also is my hiking partner, so we've gotten spent a lot of time with each other, listening to the playlist, hiking through backcountry, and kind of bouncing new discovery methods for music off of one another. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you learn something. Maybe it helps you get through this whole quarantine situation with a little bit better tunes in your ears. So let me know what you think in the comments, maybe upcoming topics, things you're interested in, things that I might have missed in this podcast. Just feel free to share. All right, enjoy. All right, we are live. Everyone, this is David McElroy. Once again, you'll hear me say Maryland. I don't know, how many miles have we hiked together? Like 150 plus?
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. We did close to 60 the last trip alone, so about 150 to 200 probably.
Probably somewhere near there. It's given us a lot of time to talk about music, listen to each other's music, critique music, and other aspects of life. But today we're talking about music.
Yeah, it's all big backpacking trips through national parks. So it's not like we're just meeting up and hiking for the day or anything like that. We're out there for 4 days with nothing to do.
Yeah. So essentially we don't have anything else. Exactly. It's talk, music, or hike. Sometimes a combination of two. But yeah, today we want to talk about specifically to you who out there listening. How do you discover good music now? It seems like, and I think we could both agree that most people like the top 40, and it's easy to find that everywhere, but it's not easy to find new bands in the genres that you don't even know exist anymore. I would say that both of us are probably regarded as the music dudes in certain circles that we hang out with, and maybe we can enlighten some people or provide some different avenues for folks to go and find that music that literally they don't know exists. So yeah, what's your main method of discovery?
Well, let me first start by introducing myself. My name is David, as Seth put it, nickname Marilyn. We won't go down that path, but like the state, not like Marilyn Monroe or anything like that. Favorite band behind me, Zeppelin, all time. Got Fleetwood Mac shirt on. One of my favorite albums of all time, Rumors. Favorite genre of all time, 60s, 70s rock. But yeah, love music. Big music guy.
I can attest to that.
Primary source of music, discovery, aggregation, listening is Spotify. Absolutely love Spotify. I've been on Spotify since it first came out. I first started using it in like 2012, 13, in that time frame. I could probably look at an old playlist and tell you.
So you were an early adopter.
For sure. I mean, I guess I assume so. It was a long time ago, and now it's huge, right? Spotify is like the leading platform, at least one of the leading platforms, right? So, but yeah, no, I got in early stages. I was like, I can listen to any song that I want out there, and I can make playlists, and I can save it. Like, that's too good to be true, like a music lover's dream. But yeah, that's my top music source, if you will.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I'm Spotify. I think that it's the easiest way to actually find new music. We'll talk about some other avenues, specifically some social media stuff. I think that if I were to break it down, I would say that Spotify makes it easier than any other platform to discover new music because you don't have to go and actively search. It puts everything, as much as it can, it puts it in front of you. Based on what it already knows about you. And I love that. Some people get scared of big tech, but I find that especially in this realm, trying to find new bands that I want to see, or maybe new bands that only have an album out, it's the only way that I can easily do it without having to spend hours. And I'm one of the people that will spend hours. I'll go down the wormhole, I'll pull up YouTube, whatever, but Spotify, If you're listening to something and I know that we're friends on Spotify, I can literally see it up there in your activity. Click on it just because I'm interested in what you're listening in and I trust your taste in music. So I'm with you. Spotify's me, and I will admit that I'm not sponsored by Spotify. I do pay for Spotify, and I pay for the family plan. So all you family members out there, you're welcome.
Why do you pay for the family plan? If it's just, is it just you?
No, I got some people on it. And with my things and everything that I like to share music with specifically, it's easier for me to just go ahead and do the bundle. It's nice that they give you the option too. I think that they took that from Netflix, and I appreciate that option. But let's get into Spotify since we do use it. In Spotify, let's say you're on a music day and you just want to find something new. What's your first step in Spotify?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think to find good music, every day's got to be a music day, in my opinion. Certainly have the music days where, like, I'll go down a rabbit hole and we'll be like 10, jumps deep into related artists and playlists and shit. And we'll be building a big playlist and all that. I like to let kind of like that come to me and the vibe, kind of catch me, or I catch the vibe, whatever. I mean, so like my go-to for finding new music, which I'm on a ever-ending quest to do so, is Fridays. Spotify drops New Music Friday, which I think is a great playlist, which is, as we talked about, just a standard playlist that's put out there for everybody. I'm sure that the artists like have some kind of deal behind the scenes to get their music on that
Sure.
playlist, but it's new shit that had come out in the past week. So every Friday they put it out there, and I've been using that for some time. And then so there's no really algorithm or suggestion behind that. It's just a smorgasbord of random music. But it's, you're gonna find the mainstream artists. You're gonna find, like, looking at it this week, I think. Let's see if I can pull it up here real quick. New releases. Yeah, by the way, when you go into Spotify, here, you know what? I might as well share my screen as I'm clicking through this. Is that cool?
Yeah, do it.
Maybe not. I have to grant access. Oh, well. Anyway, as you're clicking through Spotify, if you go to the browse space and then the new releases, there's a New Music Friday playlist. I mean, look at it right now. It's 21 Pilots, Selena Gomez, Tory Lanez, those types of people that you hear on the radio and stuff all the time that are mainstream that are on there. But then, you dig deeper, there's like at least 100 songs in there, probably.
Always.
And, yeah, and you can find, some good stuff. And as you look at it weekly, you'll start to recognize artists and you'll kind of build your knowledge of current artists and what they're releasing. So you don't have to listen to every song because some of them suck, quite frankly. But so that's one. The other would be the release release radar playlist, I believe. Yeah, that's the one that I really like. That they came out with after New Music Friday, where they started to they use, I guess, some algorithm behind the scenes to kind of know what you listen to, what you like, and what you search for in terms of artists and music and genres, and then suggest that. They curate the playlist for you so that when you look at that, it's not just 100 random songs. It's a smaller amount, like 25 or 30, but it's all generally shit that you want to check out and listen to. So both of those, every Friday, I'm combing through trying to find the best shit I can. So I'll leave it at that. I make playlists. I'll get into that whenever you want me to. But that was
No, I think that's the best tangent from what I was going to say, because I before we hopped on this and started recording, I kind of broke down my list of 5, and you just hit on where I start. So for the general person, what I typically like to tell people, if they're just, they don't want to listen to all of my music, they want to find something of their own. They don't want to just sit there and say, yeah, we're friends on Spotify, I'm going to listen to all your playlists. The easiest thing to do is to take 20 minutes and just put a playlist of your favorite songs together. And why I like to tell people that is that when you put 20 songs on a playlist, even if they're somewhat related or not related at all, at the very bottom of the playlist that you create, it'll be recommendations to add. And so when you add when you have that added, um, I don't know if you can hear Brianna back there. She's over there on the phone.
Quarantine.
Quarantine, man. We got noises everywhere. Anyway, but the playlist aspect of it for me is the best, especially when you're starting to get into things, because what happens is that Spotify automatically recommends you songs, and you can kind of pick through those. And the more playlists, with the more genres that you create, obviously, the more stuff you find. And from that same method to tie back into what you were talking about, you can follow playlists, and they will then recommend you other things based on the playlist you follow. And just going further down the playlist rabbit hole, what we talked about earlier, I can befriend you on Spotify and then listen to yours and then get new ideas for songs and then add things to my playlist, which will then tell that algorithm saying, hey, he likes this, let's show him more of it. So I'm always telling people just to put on a radio, put on a playlist or create a playlist. And every time on a radio, especially that it comes up through Spotify, hit the like button. You don't have to do it every song, but the more you do it, the more it helps. It's kind of like a Google tech or any tech now that takes big data and personalizes it to you. So those are like the first things that I always tell people. And then as you get deeper, obviously you hear a song that you like, and something we were just talking about, David Rawlings. You hear a song that you like, you hit go to artist and just listen. See if you actually like that stuff, because you might like the whole album.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, two things there. I was going to say, small plug, if you don't want to sift through all of the bullshit of New Music Friday and the public playlist, you can just follow me, because I go through and I pick out the best stuff and put it on my playlist. People love it. I'm amazing. Everybody knows that. But anyway, the other thing is, and I make a monthly playlist at that. I've been making a monthly playlist of new music. It's typically more mainstream stuff that I think is actually decent, rap, hip hop, pop, electronic, a blend of those. Typically gets from anywhere from 20 to 50 songs a month, by the month. And I've been doing it for coming up on 5 years now. So, I mean, quick math, that's like close to 60 playlists right there, over the past 5 years of good stuff you could check out. But, but to your point, doing that then allows Spotify to recognize what I typically like and lean towards, and recommend better music for me. And a good thing I also wanted to mention around the public playlists, or even, other people's playlists, if you find an artist you don't know, but you like the song, like, hey, it was pretty good, you can click on the artist, obviously go through their shit, but then they have recommended, similar artists or recommended artists on that same page that you can then say, I've gone through all these albums and I like this, and this song by them, add it to your playlist. And then you can say, who else makes music like this? And then go through the related artists. Then you're going down a rabbit hole, and then hours later you come out and you got a 50-song playlist. And you're like, well, what just happened? But
and I think that's
the good stuff.
I think that's the easiest jump right there, what you just described. So, I mean, you go to Led Zeppelin and you pull up their page with what they have discography-wise on Spotify, and you're done with Led Zeppelin. To your point, you look at that top right or wherever it is on your screen of similar artists. I mean, that's the wormhole that I think is the easiest to go down, probably for most people, because it's, oh, well, they're like my favorite band, so why not give one song a listen? And then after 5 bands and one song each, you're 30 minutes deep, and you're like, wow, I kind of did some work there. And the only other playlist that I recommend specifically, and if you're wondering by now, yes, Spotify is based around playlists. It's not, you can't go in and listen to someone's library of songs. You have to listen to their playlists, assuming that they're just a normal user. You can listen to artists' library of songs, but it's the songs from them. But the playlist that I would recommend to most people, similar to yours, Radar Release and New Music Friday, is the Discover Weekly, because the Discover Weekly playlist is also one of those that's tailored towards you, based on the collection of your music that you listen to. And what I've found a lot of times is based on what I've been listening to as well. So I'm not just getting something like crazy out there. I might have a playlist with NSYNC and stuff on it from the 90s, right? But if I've been listening to more like a Gregory Alan Isakov or David Rawlings or Fleetwood Mac, like it's going to give me something more towards what I've been listening to versus something that's just on a random playlist that might have 5 total plays in its lifetime in my library. So I really like that one as well. And moving off of Spotify though, because you were telling me that you use a lot of social media stuff, and it's something that I will admit now that I'm not the best at. So go into that a little bit. How do you go through social media to find new stuff?
It's mainly Instagram, to be honest with you. I try not to use social media very much. I don't really use Facebook at all. Snapchat I barely use. Twitter I don't really use at all. I use LinkedIn for work. But on Instagram, it's pretty much my only social media outlet that I use. But I mean, there are other people who like music as much as we do, and they find new stuff and they want to share it with people, or they make their own playlists and they put them out there. And so if you go through your stories of your friends, assuming you don't have thousands of people you follow, you'll find that people will share their music directly from Spotify or wherever they're listening to it there. And Instagram actually has a great integration with Spotify that if you see somebody share a Spotify playlist or album or artist or song, whatever, not only can you, I believe you can hear it, in some cases, depending on how they put it out there, hear a clip of it, but also in the top left of your phone screen, you can click, play on Spotify, and it'll automatically pull that up on Spotify.
That's
so
awesome.
then you're there, and then you're back in the wormhole, right? And you're like, oh, I really like this song. Add to a playlist. Oh, let me check out the artist. Oh, I really like this artist. Okay, well, what other artists are there similar to this? That kind of thing. So that's one way that I leverage it. And then through that, you realize, hey, your friends, are doing something similar. And as social media networking works, you network with those people, and then you begin, you begin checking their stories, you begin sending them stuff, and they'll send you stuff. Like when I see like a friend of mine named Marcus, I knew through work, I found out he started listening to some of the similar music I do and posts on Instagram. I messaged him like, hey, this is awesome, man. Check out this playlist. He's like, oh, dude, you have any more like this? I'm like, yeah, here, follow me. He's like, follow it. Yeah. And then we ended up now we kind of exchange music back and forth through DMs and stuff when we find new shit and stuff like that happens. So it's a great way to collaborate, find out what other people are liking, and share. I like to share what I'm listening to on Instagram as well, and people will give me feedback and suggest songs and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's interesting because a lot of the time.
The only other minor thing is I've noticed. Well, there was one minor thing other than that I mentioned to you is I've noticed that Instagram has started. I mean, obviously, Instagram ads are a huge thing. It's pretty much an e-commerce platform at this point, as all social media is, which is just you love it or you hate it. I want to hate it, but I love that they keep suggesting shit that I shouldn't be buying, but I really think is cool and end up buying. Different story. But they've started to advertise playlists for me for some reason on Spotify. I think I mentioned it's like the chill hop, lo-fi beats type of playlist mainly that I've seen, but some of it's pretty good. So, even Instagram's getting out there and publicizing people's ads and stuff for their playlists. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it's interesting they take that avenue. I know people want it right now. I want to know how they monetize that because someone's got to make money off of an ad. But I think that it was more interesting when you said how you share your music with people, because what I found personally is that when sharing music is tough, right? With everyone, right? You have to know someone wants you to share it. And then to a degree, you have to expect them to respond or share back. So that text message, you only have that with a few people. I find that text exchange of collaboratively finding new music. So maybe you don't rely on that, but to your point, which is why I asked your specific discovery route with social media, is that anyone can do it. And people are actively putting it out on stories. And this is stuff that me being wherever I've been in the black hole, or maybe I just don't check stories enough, and I haven't been looking for music on stories. But knowing that, just it kind of motivates at least for me, a little bit of extra motivation to check, especially certain people's stories like yourself and other people that I appreciate their music. And maybe it makes me realize I appreciate a lot more people's music. And it's not just a few people, who knows? I personally love YouTube, and I love YouTube for just a handful of reasons, mainly because you can just cast the broadest net in the world. Outside of Google, YouTube's right there in terms of search engine. It's number 2, I think, in the world. And you can find anything. But I like the fact that
Same company.
yeah, kind of crazy there. But crazy, right? But yeah, I think that the channels that you can follow are important to me on YouTube. So I love local stuff. So 91.7 here in Dallas. A lot of the local stuff that's supported locally doesn't have the ads. They want to support underground music or other local market music that matters to a lot more people rather than what you're hearing on Top 40. So you can follow them on YouTube. You can go find KXT on YouTube. You can go find KEXP on YouTube. Paste magazines and studios. They're amazing on YouTube. We were just talking about NPR Tiny Desk, which I think is probably one of the coolest platforms on YouTube to actually go see it. And they get bigger names a lot of the times. Just those channels, personally, having subscribed and turned on notifications, they come right through my feed, and I can visualize new music rather than just thinking about listening to it. Because I think sometimes when I'm just listening, maybe I have those channels or stations on the website radio stream that they have, which is great because I can go and see the name and the artist and everything. Seeing it keeps me motivated to watch it and to listen to it and to interpret it and actually make that decision. Do I like this song or not? But it also takes time. It's another wormhole, right? A visual wormhole where you get sucked in. A little different.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot. That reminds me, the other aspect of using Instagram is following artists that I like, following accounts like Rolling Stone or NPR Tiny Desk. There's a ton of great accounts out there that do what we do. They just share it via Instagram with everybody, or they're the Rolling Stone magazine, and obviously they're at the forefront of music, media, and entertainment, and so they share new music and artist spotlights and things like that. And so that's another good way to find new stuff too. And another cool thing, we're in this global pandemic with COVID-19, and that means all of artists' shows have been canceled.
Yep.
I'm very fortunate where a great feature of Spotify that they added recently is concerts, and you can see, based on the stuff that you listen to, again, using their algorithm behind the scenes, they suggest concerts in your local area, which I found was fantastic. So right before all this stuff broke out earlier this year, my wife and I were actually getting ready to get married, but we were looking at, once we get through that phase of our life, what concerts are out there in our area that we could go to. And I think we had a list of like 10 probably over the course of like spring and summer. And we were like, all right, well, let's buy them. We kept saying, let's buy tickets. We waited, and then we waited till after the wedding. And then obviously we came back from the wedding, and, all this stuff happened. So luckily we didn't buy the tickets. But my point is, there's a bit of a tangent, but my point is, that's available to you on Spotify as well, which I found great because it's hard to find a good platform to do that. And then the other point was, because all of those concerts are canceled, there's a lot of, and there's no real live entertainment. I think you did a podcast on that already right now, or earlier, right? That was your first one.
That was
there's
the
no
first
live
one.
entertainment, and they're trying to get people to stay inside and keep people sane and entertained and all that. Organizations like Global Citizen and the World Health Organization are partnering with major artists, and they're doing concerts, live concerts on Instagram Live from their homes. So like I've seen John Legend, Miguel, Kygo is one of my favorites. A ton of anyway, there's a ton of different artists that are doing this. It's called I forget what exactly it is, but it's Global Citizen that has the platform that's been doing it. They're actually doing a big kind of like Live Aid, like
Yeah.
Live Aid for the AIDS pandemic, and all the great artists came and played that, or Farm Aid, Live Aid for 9/11, everything that they've done in the
Yeah.
past, because we can't go and do a show like that in today's world with what's going on. They're actually planning one. I'll find the information and share it on here, but they're doing a big, like aggregated concert of people performing from home. Big names too. They're partnered with like Lady Gaga, and they're curating
That's what
this entire.
I was going to ask if that was the same thing, because I was reading that article the other day about Lady Gaga getting people together to do that, and I'm sure it's through that Global Citizen or whatnot. And I'll put the link in the description for that. I'll link some other the YouTube channels we talked about.
Yeah.
Just because I think that
it's called Together at Home.
Yeah.
By Global Citizen. So if you go on Instagram, follow Global Citizen, or search Together at Home, you'll find these people that have just been doing, impromptu shows or sets from their home, which is really cool. And then the One World Together at Home by Global Citizen is the big show that they're going to be doing on, I forget what day it is, but yeah, you can post the info. We'll get it to people.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome for people right now, just because, I mean, to your point, anyone can go out and search artists and probably find a live session of recent from them, because it is such a big deal right now for people. I know there's other YouTube accounts like Audiotree and Mahagony Sessions, if you like a little bit more acoustic stuff. That's really great. There's websites like thissongissick.com if you like the EDM type stuff, or bangers. I mean, I was obsessed with that in college, especially. And then when you were talking about concerts, it made me think, a lot of these venues, number one, they don't have anything to do right now. I did do a podcast on that. It was my first one, but they also get helped out through click-throughs and just traffic to their pages. So what I started doing with my favorite venues here in Dallas is actually go on those pages, give them some traffic, number one, but also use their concert page or upcoming shows page if they still have it live that hasn't been all saying canceled, and pick out one or two artists over a certain period, like in a certain month of shows that they had planned that I might not have heard, and then I'll just go and listen to a couple of their songs. Maybe I'd never heard of one that I found that way, actually, right before I listened to his NPR Tiny Desk, John Moreland. So I'd never heard of him, and all of a sudden he came through Dallas a few months back, and I had just gone on to where he was playing, saw him, didn't know him, searched him, and all of a sudden, boom, his Tiny Desk came on, and I mean, one thing led me to the next, and I'm sitting there listening to whatever album he has on Spotify. So I follow that. I think that's a pretty solid route as well. And then just to reiterate what you said, your favorite channel on Instagram. I mean, I'm sure that they're going to put stuff out there now. They have to. It's the age of digital content. So everybody's looking. Just be part of that crowd.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
And
Yeah.
I don't know
I think I discovered John Moreland myself when we were together in Montana for a hiking trip. I was like, "You heard this guy?" And you'd already known of him, but yeah. Great artist.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that I don't think you're gonna find unless you're looking. He's one of those people that we talked about at the beginning, like those guys that you don't even know are out there. I kind of find the same thing with like Kingfish Ingram, like you're talking about like the blues guys, or Marcus King Band. A lot of people don't know them, or Almond Betts. I mean, you're talking about
South Carolina.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a big deal for a region that a lot of people around the country and even the world don't know, and he might be one of the better guitar players alive today. So that's important.
I hate when people say there just isn't good music today, and I always say you're just not looking in the right place. There's exponentially more music today, so that means that, and there's still talent out there. There's still talented artists out there making music. You just get what the major record labels and the man, right, is putting out there and making money off what you hear on the radio and all that stuff. And some of that is good, to be fair. Some of that is good. I listen to it. But, you know, like the underground stuff, you know, not even just like quote unquote indie, but like folk, Americana, some of like the blended of those two into like new age country, some of the underground, like not necessarily heavy metal rock, but like a blend of that with some rock and roll, you know, that kind of stuff is out there. And you know, they're really great. But I think the challenge of, you know, making it into the music business and being famous, you know, it is, I don't want to say it's more difficult than it used to be when we had like the rock legends that we all idolize, like Zeppelin, you know, Floyd, Fleetwood Mac. I mean, go forever on that. But John Prine, R.I.P. Right?
Yeah.
The legends that we all idolize. Those are the people, like especially the older generation, are always telling me, you know, people I work with or friends that I have, you know, there just isn't good stuff these days. You know, all I listen to is the Dead, or all I listen to is, you know, those bands. And I'm like, you're just not looking in the right place. They're out there. And it was obviously harder in terms of like getting your content and your music out to people back in the 60s and 70s because the internet didn't exist. But I think it's arguably, you know, just as hard or even harder today because it's too easy. There's so many artists out there, you know what I mean?
There's a lot of clutter.
You can start your own band and make your YouTube videos, you know, make an album, record an album, and try to put it out there digitally. But because there are thousands of other people doing the same exact thing, what makes you different? What's your marketing strategy? What's your brand? How do you differentiate? So I say all that to say that there is good music out there. Obviously, we're firm believers of that. And if you come follow our playlist and look at them, you'll realize that hopefully, because we sift through the bullshit. And so don't feel like there's not good stuff and stick to what you know, because there's nothing better than a new thing, in my opinion, but there's nothing better than new music.
Music hits in that special way for most people where like you put a song on and I think it changes your opinion at least for 3 minutes. Maybe that attitude goes from I was really sad and I needed a sad song, or I was really sad and that really got me out of it. I mean, it can be anything.
Yeah.
To your point that a lot of people do think that it's hard to find new music, and it's the harder part is not knowing where to start, which is why I wanted to get you on here. And anyone out there listening, I challenge, if you don't have a Spotify, that's fine. Use Apple Music. I mean, there's things out there. Spotify's free. You don't have to pay for it. There's a paid version. Apple Music, I'm assuming Apple's the same. I've never used it. But more so than anything, try not to use Pandora. Pandora, I've done business with Pandora in the past, and I've kind of gotten to look into their algorithm. It's not based on discovery. It's based on getting you to click the thumbs up button on what they put out there. So it's more of a regurgitation of what you might already like. So get on.
Yeah, to get you to come back.
Right? Exactly.
You use their app, see their advertisements, and they make money. You know, they're not suggesting new stuff. They're just playing stuff you like.
Yeah. So I challenge anyone listening to this, get on Spotify, get on Apple Music, whatever platform of those two specific ones that you're using, choose one, use it, and put together one playlist. You can put a timer on yourself to take 15 minutes to do all this. If you only get 5 songs on a playlist and you call it a day, come back the next day, spend 15 more minutes, and just do what we were talking about. Scroll down to the bottom of that playlist and see what they tell you that they're suggesting. If you spend 15 minutes a day for a week, 15 minutes a day for a week, I would be willing to bet Spotify's given you enough to create 3 playlists. And I would be willing to bet one of those playlists includes songs that you might have never heard before or have only heard a couple times that you didn't realize who sang it, what the artist was. I mean, you might be discovering a world of new things rather than just songs. I mean, they give you the backgrounds, they give you lyrics, they give you it's amazing what some of these platforms can give you if you want it. I mean, you don't have to want it. You don't have to click through. You don't have to see the stories. You can just sit there and look for music discovery. But the first step is to download it and create a playlist. Or follow a playlist. I mean, the first step I would challenge everyone to do is that.
Yeah.
I think we've covered a lot of discovery stuff, and I know that we had talked before about getting into some album banter.
Well, I got one more thing
Go for it.
on the discovery front. Just discovering music organically as you go through your day, right? I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, the traditional ways you hear it on the radio, and you're like, "Oh, what's that song?" And maybe you write it down or whatever. I would say another ask or suggestion is to make sure you have Shazam on your phone, because Shazam is amazing. If you don't know what Shazam is, I think everybody knows what Shazam is. But if you don't know what it is, it's an app on your phone where you press a button and it listens to the song that you're listening to or hearing, and it tells you exactly what it is and gives you a link to play it or download it and all that. So I use that all the time. And I think that a lot of people, will go through their day and they'll hear a song and they're like, I've never heard this song. I like it a lot. But then they don't take the time to record it or use Shazam to track it or to even write it down. Like, even if you don't have Shazam or you don't have network connectivity or what have you, just listening for a few lyrics, and you're like, oh, I recognize I was able to pick this line out of the song. Google
Mhm.
it, you'll find the song, you can record it somewhere, and then go back into Spotify and find it, and then go down your rabbit hole and all that. So I think that's good. So I'd suggest that. If you're in a coffee shop, a restaurant, not just your car, listening to the radio, that type of thing. A lot of times when I go to live shows and I don't know the opener very well, I'll start listening for lyrics and I'll record some down so I can go back and find which songs they were playing and things like that. And even with artists that I do know and love that I go and see, I may not be as big on a song that they play at the show, or I don't really recognize it. And so I try to pick at least one song out of a set list that I'm like, I didn't really listen to the song very much before, but now I absolutely love it seeing it live. And a lot of
Yeah,
times that's also because they'll share like the backstory. I really love the backstory behind music, and certainly love the songs that I can feel, understand and feel what emotion that they're going through when they wrote the song, and what they were
100%.
thinking, story it's telling. But if you hear them kind of explain it ahead of time, that makes it even more impactful. I think like a good example was I went to see the Lumineers. So I love the Lumineers. Talk about sad music. If you want a safe place to be sad, just throw on one of the last two Lumineers albums and you're good to go. But one of my favorite, I love slow jams. That's my thing, sad music. But before they play Gun Song, which is one of my favorites by them, if you listen to that. But before they played that, the lead singer went into how it's about his dad and how he actually went into his room and found a gun one time, like went into it, and I was like, and then how he had lost his dad recently and all this stuff, and I was like, man, that's incredible that like that's what's behind the song. It's made more impactful. Bringing it back down, but anyway, so finding it organically is great in your life, using Shazam, picking out lyrics and googling them and writing them down, things like that. And then also in music, in other forms of media like movies and television, TV shows that play songs you like in the opening credits. That's how I discovered Michael Kiwanuka. Actually, that's my wife said,
Huh.
hey, I like this show, Big Little Lies, and the opening song is Cold Little Heart, I think, by him. And I've seen
Yep.
live, is incredible, but she's like, check it out. That's a great way to find music. You mentioned David Rawlings earlier. The way I found David Rawlings was the song Cumberland Gap was playing for the opening credits of that movie, or of the movie The Gentleman, which just came out. It's a really good movie, Guy Ritchie, if you're interested. But that was a great one to go and listen to, and so you can find music that way. Same thing, you can Shazam a movie or a TV show all you want, that kind of stuff. So
The
I just
movies are a
say
big deal. Yeah, I would say soundtrack. I'm glad you stopped
soundtrack.
before you went anywhere else, because soundtracks, if you like a movie, you don't even realize you like the music until you put the soundtrack on. And I think the best example of it was the one that you mentioned before with Guardians of the Galaxy. People, you listen to Guardian, or you watch Guardians of the Galaxy, and all of a sudden you're like bobbing your head, man. This is fun. This is good, and you don't register that you're listening to music. You still think you're watching the movie, but take the time out and say, man, I really like this movie. Let's go and listen to the soundtrack. Like I would be willing to bet that any of my friends have not necessarily gone out to Spotify and pulled up the Godfather soundtrack, but it's a pretty good soundtrack. And I've learned that from albums, which we were talking about earlier, because of The Big Chill. And you look at the Big Chill soundtrack and you're like, Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin, The Temptations, and you boom, it's all right there, and you don't even think that good music is behind the movie. You typically think of symphonic stuff or orchestral compositions of whatever keys to take whatever emotions into whichever realm, but it's real music a lot of the times.
Yeah, and in the movies that incorporate the music organically into them, like Guardians of the Galaxy, where he has literally a mixtape that his mom made him before he died, and he keeps playing that, and whenever he puts the headphones on or plays in the spaceship, they play the music, like they introduce it actually into the movie as opposed to just playing it in the background. I mean, those are my favorite movies, you know, like Guardians. I haven't seen the movie you referenced, but another one comes to mind, The Big Lebowski, you know, those types of things where they build the cinema, the actual the film around the song or the music that's playing. That's obviously because I love music. That's my favorite form of media, but that's a big one for me, for sure. And then one other thing, another tangent is digital albums that are you know, like I think first one I've ever seen is The Wall, Pink Floyd. Crazy, incredible piece of, you know, artwork. But new artists are doing that too. The Lumineers specifically. I didn't, you know, I liked their first album, some of their first stuff, like the Ho Hey's all right, you know, that kind of stuff. Stubborn Love's pretty good. But that's just kind of like rhythmic, you know, catchy stuff. But then they really sat down, and the last two albums they've made visual albums where it's like one long music video behind, you know, their album, their music. So it's one long piece of artwork that actually has a visual element to it. And so definitely like look into your artists, and if they do that type of thing with their music videos, or if they do digital album, you know, visual albums, things like that, is really cool too. If you haven't seen the Lumineer stuff, it's pretty moving. It's good stuff.
And oh man, yeah, moving is an understatement for their stuff. That's like they're pretty thoughtful with what they do with their music and their visuals and everything.
It's heavy. If you're like not trying to go down that route and like go a happy route, go listen to Bobby McFerrin, Don't Worry, Be Happy, or some Bob Marley. But if you're
avoid Mandolin Orange, avoid the Lumineers, like just stay away.
I don't think Meg's made it. I've been to seeing Mandolin Orange twice now. Love them. Just absolutely beautiful music.
Amazing.
I don't think Meg's made it through a full concert of Mandolin Orange without falling asleep because they're just so slow and beautiful, and like you just kind of want to relax and go to sleep, you know, when you listen to them. But
I never know if people are gonna fall asleep or cry. I'm like, oh man, like what's gonna happen here? It's beautiful, but it might bring tears to people's eyes.
She actually didn't used to like sad music. She's like didn't like Lumineers, and I'm like, but it, you know, she's like, I don't want to listen to something that makes me feel sad. And I was like, but you know, feeling sad is normal and natural. And I find that music gives me a safe space to go and listen and have that feeling. You know, like kind of a form of therapy, if you will. If I want to feel happy, I go listen to happy music. If I need something to pick, if I'm trying to work out, I work out, listen to workout music. You know, all that stuff. There's music for different vibes, activities, what you're trying to do. And then also as you do that, you start to piece your kind of musical life together, if you will. Everybody can recall, you know, what they're listening to in senior year of high school, and you know
what you graduated to, all of those things.
That one fall semester of college, you know, what you were doing this year. You know, that's how I kind of, you know, piece my timeline together based on what I listen to, and back to Spotify and those you know, platforms. You can build your library and your playlist in a chronological manner, so that you can always go back and not only listen to music from that time, but remember the times that you were having while you were finding and listening to that music. So I think that's a good benefit, if you will, that people may not realize of curating music in the way that we do.
100%. And I think what you said earlier relating to visual albums might also help people kind of and I don't know how to go into it other than stressing the fact that the whole album is important. And those visual albums, to your point, help you listen to them all because it's captivating visually. You know, it's not just audible, just kind of reverberating. You can tune it off if you want to tune it off and just hear the rhythm in the background. You're watching something, you're committing your attention to it. But just,
It's also not just it's also just not a compilation of singles like a lot of mainstream music today.
and that's where
It's
I
a
was
work.
going. Yeah, exactly. So they put it together for a reason. And I now, especially now that I've had quite a few years of collecting old vinyls and new vinyls to that degree, it's made me kind of realize the importance of listening to the whole album. You know, these artists put these things out with usually an overarching view of what they're doing. They have structure in their album. It's not going to be a banger one song and then talking about their mom passing away on the next song. Usually, sometimes that happens. Sometimes like artists have they toss an EP out there that has a collection of things, but albums have some thought behind them. So I like to say I'm listening to this album versus, well, they sent me this song, I'm just going to listen to this song and the next one that got the most listens and I'm going to click off of it. Because I find that, to your point earlier, you know, like you take that one song from an artist that you find that you fall more in love with over time. Most of the times for me, it's not the first song that I hear from the artist. That first song might be captivating. It might be hook, line, sinker. I might be in, but then I go down their first album or an album in between or a song that's on the back end of an album and I get hooked up, just hooked. Like a great one for me is the Black Pumas, who are blowing up right now. I've got their album. Yeah, I bought it at the show. Incredible live, but December 33 or October 33 is what it's called. Sorry. I love that song. And the only songs that I heard initially were the Black Moon Rising song. Obviously, that was their first big song out. And then Colors, which is blowing up. And you can go through and listen to the rest of everything. But when I heard the October 33, I was like, dude, this is good. And now it's probably my favorite song by him. And every time I put that album on, I'm waiting for that one to come up, rather than just going straight to it. You know, it's the anticipation of it coming up is more exciting than just put it on and throw it and then now what, right? Like having the rest of something and what came before is exciting for me rather than just staying on that single.
Yeah, I think that, you know, leads to the point of just keeping an open mind with music, and you'll discover it. You'll find the good stuff, whether it's organically out, you know, as you're going about your day, or if you're at a show and you're checking out the opener or hearing a song you don't normally know by the main artist. You know, those types of things are great to kind of open your mind and discover new music and find something you may not have necessarily thought you would like or you would think is the best song by that artist, that type of thing. But yeah, and those, I mean, the days of the beautiful works of art of, you know, an album or just sides on vinyl are, you know, dwindling, but finding those gems are just amazing.
Yeah, you have to really be in it if you want to get into vinyl. Like you have to just accept that it's not going to be. It's very niche, is what I would lead off with. It's very niche. I think there's a resurgence of it in some aspects of the U.S. and in some areas, but in general, it is dying. It's dwindling. Only certain artists, indie artists, newer artists are seeing value in putting it out there and selling it at their shows because of the hipster millennials that want to be in vinyl. But when you start looking at everything in terms of vinyl itself, I mean, just be prepared to get disappointed in finds and having to go the extra step to finding what you actually want, the digital searches that you're going to do, the bad stuff that you'll find for high prices. You literally have to put work into that.
Yeah, I typically check the just in bin at my local shop.
Yeah.
Every time I go in, and I usually find, you know, like 4 albums that I want. So I have to limit it down. And I'm like, I'm not even gonna look anywhere else at this point. Occasionally I'll check the like expensive bin because I'm like, And then I always ask for ones that I'm looking for specifically. Like right now, I'm on the hunt for Zeppelin 1. It's the only, vinyl that I don't have by them. Like, original, not like new age remastered
Yeah.
press vinyl, but like actual vintage vinyl that I don't have from them. Or I really want some Etta James, Aretha Franklin, that genre.
They're hard to find.
But good stuff's hard to find because people hold on to it.
Exactly. So, I mean, if you're really looking for new vinyl and you want to put the work into it, my first, and I know we're off digital discovery, but I think this is important because it is discovery in its own right. Because you typically don't think about going to listen to Etta James' album from 1973 or whatever specific year, but those are the vinyls that you'll find. And I found that estate sales are huge because they'll list out what they're selling, maybe not piece by piece, but they'll include the vinyl in there, tell you if they have a lot. Make the contact with that local record store. I've made a few contacts, and one of them actually has offered me now. I mean, I've spent some money with him, but one of them's offered, if you want something, let me know, and if I find it, you'll get first right of refusal. I'll ship it to you for like $4 more than what I'll sell it to you for. So that was cool to make that contact. And I think it was funny because you were there with me, so you can attest to it. But like when we go on random trips, if you pass by a record store or somewhere that might look like a pawn shop or thrift store or something,
or a Montana thrift store,
just stop in. Maybe Kalispell has some really good ELO. That's where we found Face the Music, right? That's that album that we found there, Face the Music by ELO.
Is that what it is? The really dark one.
Yeah, regardless. We
album.
found some good stuff in Kalispell, Montana, just because we decided to stop in a thrift store.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And to bring it back to the digital discovery effort, we talk a lot about new music, but there's a lot of great old music out there. I feel like you and I have a pretty good, knowledge base of music from the 60s, 70s, that time frame. I'm not as big on the 80s, but I know most of the 80s music. 90s, obviously, we're 90s babies. We know that shit. But there's a lot of stuff, good stuff that was made in the 60s and 70s. I feel like a lot of people don't even realize they know or even know who Etta James is. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's tons of good stuff out there that you haven't heard or you've heard and you've just never taken the time to like look up and record. So I'm always on a never-ending quest to find that one like little hidden gem that was a one-hit wonder in 1973 that is just a beautiful and incredible song. But if you weren't around in 73 to 75, then you probably never heard it, that type of stuff. So you can always go down rabbit holes on Spotify because all of it's out there and find great music related to what you like to listen to and stuff you probably haven't heard or haven't realized you've heard. So I've done a lot of that. As you know, I love, I said 60s, 70s rock is my classic rock's my favorite genre, but right there, neck and neck with it is old school soul, man, Motown, that stuff. So I've made like 100-song playlist, I think it is at this point, of just that style of music, which is just incredible. Love Al Green, Bill Withers, R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Lost a lot of good people recently. Etta James, Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles, everybody, right? So another good one. It's called Not Funkin' Christmas. Kind of weird, but
I've got personal experience with that playlist, and I can recommend it to anyone who's listening. It's pretty solid. It'll get you feeling the groove for sure. Artist that you made me think of when you were just saying that, actually, tying off of John Prine, is John Hartford. And before I started collecting albums, my mom had a Hartford album, and I remember hearing songs growing up, just kind of in the background on the lake wherever we were, thinking, that's actually a pretty good song. I didn't think I liked bluegrass, but I like that. And that folk bluegrass genre is one that I've kind of grown into over the years. And Hartford is one of those guys, and I would say one of the pioneers, really, because he was so incredibly talented on any instrument that he picked up, specifically banjo, just incredibly talented, and has this kind of Tom Waits aspect to his music writing and kind of using voice inflection and strange sounds. And I put on one of his albums a few years back, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there thinking, whoa, this is like, let me go find more of it. And I didn't have the more vinyl, but I could go on to Spotify and say, this was awesome. Let me look at what else he has and tie it back into that old school digital realm of things where it's not new music necessarily, but it's new music to me because I hadn't heard of it before.
Yeah, right. Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting how it all works out. You know, I mean, the music realm, just to kind of wrap it all up, is it's not changed in terms of what it takes to discover new music. The difference is that back in the day, when all of our parents are talking about the best music being out there, you just go to the concert. You know, you're not going to hop up on a phone or a computer. There was no such thing.
Or the record store.
Or the record store.
That was it.
You had to physically go somewhere to experience it. So you put just as much work in. You just didn't think it was work because it was part of your normal life. Well, now part of our normal life is this bad boy. And if you got your cell phone and you want to find new music, instead of doing a 15-minute drive to your record store, cruise Spotify for 15 minutes. And I promise you'll find something. If you spend 15 minutes on Spotify and you haven't found anything new, direct message me and I will literally consult you through a new, I'll have a new song for you in 5 minutes because it's almost impossible. They want you to find stuff. It's what they're built for.
Yeah, I was just going to say, go, shameless plug, just go follow us if you're looking for new music and you don't, you're feeling overwhelmed or you don't know where to start. Just look at our playlists. I like all genres, all spans of music. I have my preferences as I've gone through, but I especially like the type of music, the artists that blend genres or span genres. Those are the most iconic and best artists of all time anyway. So check them out, man.
I'm with you. So to close everything out, I want to ask you to leave everybody with an artist or a song specifically that you've just been going hard on lately. Just you can't think of anything else. When you want to listen to music, this thing comes up 5 times a day. I know that we both get hooked on things, and you probably have a few that you can give to people. But if you had to,
yeah, can I give 2?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so typically I didn't go into this, but when I listen to music and I make playlists, there are 2 really general, types of music that I listen to. There's like the chill, I just want to throw this on in the background. It's a good vibe. I really like it. It's like the rock, folk, Americana, that kind of stuff. And then I make playlists of that, and then I have my monthly playlists, which are more of the upbeat, electronic, pop, rap kind of stuff that I enjoy. So I'll give you one from both areas. So one we've already mentioned him a few times, but just this past week I've been all over David Rawlings and the song in particular, Cumberland Gap, which is in the opening credits of The Gentleman. So it's a good example of how I found something organically. I Shazammed it, recorded it, went out and found it, and there's an album of his called Poor David's Almanac, which is just pure gold. So I've been listening to that nonstop. And then on the other end of the spectrum, more pop electronic, let me make sure I got the right name and artist. It's a song called Sixes to Nines, and it's a band or DJ, whatever you want to call them these days, named Big Wild, featuring Rationale.
Yeah.
That's both of those are the ones that I always have a song playing in my head, and so it's been kind of alternating between those 2.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, sometimes you have to have multiple songs to stay sane, but I definitely can attest to the David Rawlings. That guy's got some talent there. And I've heard of Big Wild, but I haven't heard of exactly the one you said, so I'll check it out.
6 to 9. Go look. There you go. Now you got one. I know we share music all the time, but here you go. Live. You're getting a song from me. 6 to 9. Check it out.
Dude, I will for sure. And if I was going to do the same thing, I'll give you 2 artists just because I've been on 2 artists lately whenever it comes up to Spotify. And I shared the first one with you is Sam Birchfield.
I wasn't going to steal that guy from you, but he's up there for me right now.
I can't get all off of his songs, and I mean, I didn't even think that he was on some contest on TV, but I'm pretty sure it was like American Idol or The Voice, or
Good.
America's Got Talent. I'm butchering wherever he kind of blew up on, but he was somewhere. And I remember searching him once I found the album. Like, oh, you know what? He was on something. All right, cool. At least that's what I recollect.
You broke up right there. Yeah.
Well, as I was just saying, at least that's what I can recollect, is that he was on
Yeah.
one of those platforms. And the other one is the Milk Carton Kids, and they have just a few songs out right now. Which was the one that I just saw. I pulled up my Spotify just to make sure, and within the first 10 songs, they were on there. The song is, well, of course, now, don't you know, I can't find it.
Michigan, wish you were
Younger
here.
Younger
Younger
Years.
years.
Younger Years. That one has been kind of on replay for me over the last week or so. Good song. Pretty interesting band. I don't think that they're necessarily they don't have, all their songs aren't necessarily similar, where Sam Birchfield is going to have the same vibe. David Rawlings kind of has his same vibe throughout his album. Milk Carton Kids is one of those bands that can kind of change it up on you. I like that. So those two are the ones I believe.
The name didn't ring a bell initially, but I think I have listened and liked the song Michigan by them.
Yeah, I think that's on one of our hiking playlists. It might be on, or at least one of the playlists we listen to when we hike.
Gotcha. Well, I'll have to go check out Younger Years.
We both helped each other out right there. And I encourage anyone listening to do just that, just send a random song to someone that you're friends with and see what they say and where it takes you, because it's typically a conversation that I think a lot of people don't have, and can provide some new interests for both of you, maybe help both of you out and give you something to do when you're just sitting at your home quarantined on a weekend, and it's either crappy outside or just too beautiful and you see a crowd of people that you don't want to go around.
Yep. Great way to connect, and everybody loves new music.
Everybody.
Sometimes you get like skittish about it, you're like, I don't know if they're gonna like this or people are gonna like my playlist, but I just kind of said, F it, I'm just gonna throw it out there to people now. So
yeah, it's become a challenge with me and my sister right now. She likes to see if she can find something that I haven't already heard. So she just keeps sending me songs, and I guess just expects that I've already heard it. But when she does find something I haven't heard, she's like jumping up in joy, like, yeah, I did it, and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty funny. So yeah, if you're listening and you made it this far, go find some new music. Stop listening. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, Marilyn, for hopping on here with me. If you have any closing thoughts, I'll give the floor to you now.
On that last point, post a playlist or an artist or something that you're really enjoying in the comments if you're watching, and feel obligated to do so. Maybe we'll enjoy it, but
yeah,
others will too.
Awesome. Well, until next time, peace out, homie.